Croz. Got a cup. 1 minute.
There we go. I don't know how we get it back from the cloud.
Right. Okay. That's.
I'm
great.
doing it into the cloud. I'm sure we can get it back from there somehow.
Yeah. Well, you basically you basically would log into your Zoom account and then it would show you the recordings and you just send me the link.
Okay, no problem at all.
All right.
So where we are in life is a direct result of how we've been programmed. And that programming determines what we allow ourselves to do or what we do without thought, because we pick up our mind when we arrive on, when we're born, is the perfect program for success. Left alone, there'd be no problem. Left alone. And we spend the next years programming ourselves basically for failure. But the people that program us don't intentionally program us for failure. The parents that they pick us up and prevent us falling over, so we associate falling over with getting a cuddle, whereas really falling over is just the way to learn how to walk. So we buggered up that program. So now what we do is we fall over and cry, and that gets us a cuddle. So whether we're hurt or not, we then associate falling over with crying. But falling over is part of learning to walk. So we're changing the program. If we didn't interfere, a child would fall over and not cry. It would get up, because that's what, a bear don't cry. Monkeys don't cry when they fall over, because it's all part of learning how to do it. So that first bit of interference starts doing it. So, and then we start protecting our children, possibly in a way that's not really the best way. Like, we start trying to prevent them. We start saying things like, "Oh, don't expect that," or don't do this. No, we're all right. Or that's for other people. And all this programming's going in, whereby we're doing it to try and say, well, don't expect to earn a lot of money, because you're just you, and just make do with what you got. Now, that's a very limiting thing to do, because we're giving ourselves an excuse. We're giving our child an excuse not to do well by saying that it's acceptable. So all this programming is going on throughout our life. So by the time that we're 18, we're standing there and we're confused. Well, it's not surprising, because we've got all these conflicting messages stopping us doing things. Anyway, having said that, on with the story. I was very successful, I suppose, in business. I did my first deal with a motor car at the age of 12 or 13 years old. I can't remember exactly which, but that was something that happened by default. But it was a great lesson in learning that what we put in is stored, and provided there's nothing to prevent it working, it will work. And that story very quickly was, I was at school with a guy called Lawrence Gilbert, who was either the grandson or the great-grandson of Jack Cohen, who was the bloke who started Tesco's. So he was well connected and all that. And he came in one day, he said, "Croz, guess what?" He said, "I bought an old Sunbeam Talbot, cleaned it up, and I sold it, and I earned £10. Well, £10 was a man's wages for a week. "You didn't, did you?" He said, "Yeah." And he told me the story that he like. So that went in. That there was nothing to stop that. But well, if he can do it, I can do it. But where I lived in a little village, where was I going to find the car or anything like that? And a couple of months later, there in a garden was a car with a little for sale sign in it for £5, all looking very sorry for itself like that. And I ended up buying the vehicle, right? And I ran home, got me mum. Got me paper round money and me butcher's bike, me butcher's round money and all that. And I had £5. And I remember distinctly walking down the road saying, I'm going to offer him £4, because if he says yes, that's great. If he says no, I've still got the fiver, so it don't matter. I don't know what made me think that. It was just an entrepreneurial thing at 12 or 13 years old. Anyway, so I've gone. I think Lawrence might have mentioned that in his story, that he offered less and the bloke accepted. I don't know where it came from. Anyway, I walked in, I said, knocked on the door in my best salesman, car dealer's voice. Would you take £4 for the car? And the bloke said, you cheeky little bastard. He said, I will. Come in. Gone in there, wrote the receipt out, give me the receipt for £4. And he gave me the logbook, which is an old green logbook in those days. And I went home, got my mum, said, Mum, quick, come on, I've bought a car. She said, what? You've done what? Anyway, rushed down the high street with me mum, down the village, got in there, jumped in the car, and then was sitting in the car. And my mum had never drove a column change. She'd only ever drove a Morris Minor with a floor. So I don't know what to do. So I said, what do you do? He said, put the clutch into me. Mum put the clutch in. She put it in the first gear. We hopped up the road. She didn't know how to change gear or do anything. She didn't know where. So we hopped up the village in first gear, shaking and down that. Drove around the back of the house, and I spent the whole weekend cleaning it. I cleaned every single bit of that car, and it come up as though it had just left the showroom. It was unbelievable. And I thought, well, I'll show Lawrence Gilbert. And I poked it out the front. We lived on this road, the Bath Road, and there's an archway, which is a coaching house we lived in. And I put it there, and it's shining. It looked amazing. For sale, £25. I thought, I'll show Lawrence Gilbert. Look. Anyway, knock on Abington after 4 o'clock, because that's when I got in from school. 4 o'clock, knock on the door. I've come to look at the car. So he's gone out for a drive round. He's come back. He said, yeah, I'll have that. Didn't offer me, didn't chip me or anything. Gave me £25, right? And that, as I say now, that's a man's wages for 2 weeks. And I've done it for cleaning the car. Now, that's gone in. The first thing, I didn't reject the information that Lawrence had given me. And the second thing, I didn't, when that went in, it's in. But my dad spent the next 2 or 3 months telling me not to expect it to ever happen again, because I'd be disappointed. Not because he didn't want me to go and get hold of a few quid. He said, don't expect it to happen again. That's lucky. Right? Well, anyway, nothing did happen until I was 17. And guess what I did when I was 17? Opened the car yard, because I thought, that ain't a bad way to get a living. And that was the very first business I ever had, was to open the car yard. Yeah. And the story goes on. So the point I'm making is that the information that I took on board at 12 or 13 years old, right, I took on and didn't reject it. I didn't say, oh, I couldn't do that. Yeah. I just allowed it to go in. So when the opportunity rose, see, luck's just a word. Right? Seeing and accepting opportunities is luck, but people don't see them. Was I lucky? No. I'd listened to what someone said, took that information on, and later utilized the information I got, where there was no barriers there. I didn't say, oh, I'll never find a car. My mind was going, where on earth can I bloody find a car? Didn't have a clue where I was going to do it, because, as I say, I lived in a little village. Yeah. But the opportunity arose. So was that luck? No, it was an opportunity, because I'd let my mind guide me. Right? So the thing is, in life, is every single thing is about allowing things to unfold. Right? Once you start trying to direct operations, it's all right if you've got to put a screw in an hole. You can't sort of say, I'll put it in that hole. No, you've got to follow the plan. But in life, you've got to allow things to unfold, because you will learn that every single difficulty that you get, if you accept it, and the universe will give you the way to deal with it. When we have problems and stress and everything, it's when we fight it. when we say, what, why me? Why this? Why that? Right? We're fighting it. It's not natural. Right? So once we let it go, every single thing that's ever gone wrong in your life, Denise, you've got over it, haven't you? And sometimes you get over it easy, and sometimes you get over it hard. And the difference is put your thinking up here. That's all.
You interfere.
Right. But once you relax into it,
That's why you've got the 3 secrets to success behind you. Relax.
Yeah.
Number 2, relax. Number 3, relax.
That's it.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So because nothing works from a stressed or an anxious state. These teachings don't work. And that's what I learned when I lost everything, when I was 40 years old, which was not a good time to lose it. Millions and millions of dollars I lost. And I was sitting there and I thought, well, that'll be all right. I'm okay. Sold everything, got 250 grand and decided that I was going to get back in 5 minutes what it took me 40 years to get hold of. Well, that ain't a very clever thing. And when you was not stressed, you wouldn't even think of saying that, let alone trying to do it, would you? Right?
That's
but no, in the stress state, I was going to make it work because I was going to put a little bit of effort in. And every decision that we make when we're stressed, we're convinced it will work because we're going to put the effort in. But it's not. It all comes down to relaxing. So I spent the next 2 years with me 250 grand doing something I shouldn't have done, which was got back into hospitality, which I swore I'd never do. And if I'd have listened to someone 2 years earlier, I was 2 years, then I went skiing. I walked away from that. Right. If I'd have listened to someone, they could have said, Croz, do yourself a favor, live by the pool for 2 years, pay yourself 25 grand a year, which was enough money 30 years ago in Australia. I'll give you the tip. Right. And then you still have 200 grand and the clear mind. That would be the worst case scenario. Instead of that, I went and knocked myself silly 80 hours a week, right, to try and get back in 5 minutes what it took me 40 years to learn. So it's all programming. It's all programming, right? And then I started working out. I'd been successful, and here I am skint, and I just can't make things work. That's when I learned that you've got to relax. I learned that you needed a clear mental image of where you're going. And I learned that you had to make where you are where you want to be. Because otherwise we're living in a constant state of escape where we're saying it will be all right when I get there. Right? And it never is. Because all you've got control over is now. So you've got to make where you are where you want to be. And once you do that and you take away the stress and the anxiety of trying to be somewhere else, and making where you are where you want to be is doing silly little things. If you've got a gate that squeaks every time you open, and you say, I'll get around to doing that one day, put a bit of oil on it. And the next time you open it, it'll give you a little bit of pleasure. Oh, that's nice. It ain't squeaking anymore. And you do. I wonder what that wall would look like with a bit of yellow paint on it. Put some yellow paint on it and find out. So make where you are where you want to be. When I come back to my house from a day out, I love it. I can't wait to get indoors and enjoy it. And, you know, it's like a bloody holiday camp, really, my place. You can imagine, can't you? But it's where I want to be.
Yeah.
And if I want to be somewhere else and I can do something about it, I'm a fool to stay where I am. Make sense?
Yeah.
So you make where you are, that's so important.
Yeah.
And if you are happy, you are genuinely relaxed. Right?
Yeah.
And that's when the good things happen. So there's me with nothing at 40 odd years old after having been very successful in business. And I can't work out, why can't I make it work? And that was what I learned. I was spinning the wheels. I was trying to do things out of the natural order. It was impossible to get back in 5 minutes what it took me all those years to earn, wasn't it? And any logical person in a relaxed state would say, well, you're bloody mad, even thinking that. But right. So that's what I learned. And I put together saying that it's that point when you have to de-stress and relax and then look at what's happening.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then I borrowed £500 from a friend. I still had me credit cards, but I never put anything on the credit card because I didn't have any income at the time, which is a silly thing to do. So I borrowed £500 from a friend of mine. And from that 500, which was good for him to do it because he knew the situation. He knew I had nothing and no earnings, right? So for him to lend me $500 was a really good thing. And then I went on the markets, which is my default position. It's where I started my life, on the markets, when I was younger, before I got the car yard, before I could drive.
Okay.
And so I had a grounding in that, and I thought that's the way that I can get back in. I couldn't get in the car job with 500 quid. So I went back even further to when I had nothing. You buy something, sell it, buy something, sell it, do it. Within 3 years, learning what I knew and allowing things to happen through a series of events, in 3 years, I'd got back in the game. I'd got a business that was a well-established business that I'd bought into, which is a story for another day. I'd bought a factory and a shop with a shop attached to it. And in 3 years, I'm back in a big house and a nice car. In 3 years, I was back in a great position, purely and simply because I allowed myself to relax. I knew what I wanted.
Yeah.
Didn't have a clue how it was going to happen, because you can imagine, can't you? But it just unfolded. So what I learned, and the turning point, was when I learned how to calm down and relax. I always liken it. I had a client once, I called him the wheel spin kid, because he was spinning the wheels and there was all dust and everything running, and he was doing everything at 1,000,000 miles an hour, loads of noise, loads of smoke going everywhere, but he wasn't going anywhere. He was spinning the wheels. So I said, whoa, 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 hang on a minute. Slow down. Calm down. Stop the car. Right. Now start the engine again. Put it into gear. Let the clutch out slowly, and off you go. So what you do is you've got to consciously stop spinning the wheels. And it's very difficult when you're stressed, because you feel the only way of getting any movement is with energy and power, and it's not. The way you get the most movement is when you start engaging this. It's like people associate hard work and money. The two aren't related. The people who do the least are the ones who've got the most, and the ones who work the hardest, because they believe that myth, have got the least.
Yeah.
So once you understand these things, and you realize that if you start chasing things, you chase money, it'll run away from you. You chase anything, it'll run away. So there's all these triggers in life of letting you know whether you're doing things right or wrong.
Yeah.
And once you understand that, all bets are off.
Yeah.
We're all very, very powerful.
Yeah.
Very powerful. So there you go. There's a little something.
That's it. Good. Because can I just sort of like home in on that moment where you learned, because you said that you learned that it was all about relaxing. What exactly happened there? How did you learn that?
Well, I studied a book called The Science of Getting Rich, and there was a website at the time where you went on a course on the thing. And I did that because there was a statement in that thing that said, if you do exactly as I tell you to do in this book, you cannot fail to get rich. And I say fail to get successful, because everyone's idea of rich is different, isn't it? So I thought, well, that'll do, but I'll have to do it exactly as I'm told to be able to say whether it works or not. And to be honest with you, I went on the journey for it. I thought, I'll prove this wrong. This is a load of rubbish. But basically what it says is that, provided that you can have a clear mental image of where you're going, have faith and belief in getting there, the universe will conspire to give you all the tools and equipment you need to get you there. Now, people say, oh, well, I've thought of this and I thought of that. But the thing is, the actual energy comes from a deeper place than the conscious mind. The conscious mind going, yeah, he's thinking, you're thinking that, Croz, you're all right, mate. But deep down, the subconscious is saying, what a load of rubbish. That'll never work. So there's the conflicting things. You think you're thinking the right thoughts, but deep down you're not. So the work that you have to do is to go into your subconscious to convince your subconscious, which is getting rid of all the rubbish that you've learned in the past, cleaning it all out. Success is based on what you forget, not what you learn. How's that?
Yeah, that's a really interesting way of putting it, I guess.
Because you've got to unlearn and then relearn.
First of all,
but if you try and learn with all the rubbish that you've got in your head, you'll never ever come up with the solution, because the rubbish will keep overriding, as it has all your life. It will keep overriding the decisions you want to make. So you've got to overwrite and delete those files.
And
once you do, and that's the connection, is once you allow things to happen, you don't have to know. Everyone goes, when they get, I say, create a clear mental image, and they go, well, how do I get it? And I go, I ain't got a bloody clue. I ain't got a clue, because everyone's journey is different. Right? So once you understand that, what you will be told, once you've honed in on your clear mental image, you'll learn the next how. The next step you've got to take will be clear, because you know where you're going. I mean, if you're going up the shops and you've got to turn right to get to the shops, you won't go out your gate and turn left and hope to get there, will you? So the universe will guide you, provided that you follow the information. Don't try and fight it by going left, because you'll never get to the shops. But you'll be constantly saying, this is a load of rubbish. But you're going the wrong way.
That's that whole thing of having faith, isn't it? That you take that step and then you trust that the next step will reveal itself to you.
Precisely. But it always does. It can't not. Alan, when have you ever took a step and there ain't never been anything there to step on? And if there is a void, it'll, you fall over. There's always a result to your action. And if there is an hole and you fall over, you get yourself up, dust yourself down and carry on. But what we do is we sit going, oh, what if there's an hole? So what? What if there is an hole? Deal with it. Because you don't know what you're dealing with. You might have broke your foot. Then you got to deal with it. You might have just stubbed your toe. You got to deal with it. You might have not hurt yourself at all. So you stand up and carry on walking. You can't work out what might happen. You could be risk adverse, but the thing is, you could be too risk adverse, because if it's all in your imagination, if this happens, if that happens, no, do it, right? Allow it to happen, and anything that happens on the way, deal with it. Because it's fear. It's fear that stops us doing things. Fear of the unknown. Well, that's the exciting part of life, and yet we get rid of it. Bette Midler said many years ago, she said, the trouble with most 80-year-olds is they've lived 1 year 80 times. Right? You like that? That ain't no good. That ain't life, is it?
No, not at all.
You've got to live 80 different years.
No, that's really interesting, insightful. So, Croz, just if I just sort of like go back to you as a child, did you grow up in Australia or the UK? Where did you grow up?
I grew up in the UK. I went to Australia in 1988 and I came back in 2012.
Oh, right. Okay.
So I had a few years out there.
Right. And you grew up was it in the 60s, 50s?
Well, I was born in 1948.
Oh, okay.
So I was well on my way in the 60s.
Yeah. Okay. All right. And did you say you grew up in Bath?
No, the Bath Road. I lived in a little village called Colnbrook, which was near Heathrow.
Oh, I see. Okay.
On the Bath Road.
Right.
And it was a little village called Colnbrook.
Right.
When I was growing up, I think it was a little village. I think there's about 30 people live there, and there was 20 pubs. I think when when I was growing up, there was about 6 or 7 pubs, and at its
Okay.
height in that village, there was 18 pubs in the old
Crazy.
days.
But
Crazy,
then,
because it was a coaching village, see, but coaches used to go through and they'd pull in and they'd
oh,
stay overnight and all that.
oh, that makes
So there's
sense.
some very famous history in the village.
Yeah.
But so that's why there was so many pubs, because it was
Right,
what they call a
right.
coaching village.
Okay, okay. That makes sense then. They had a lot of people coming through.
Coming through, yeah, a lot
Yeah.
of, yeah,
All
through
right.
on their
Um,
way from London to Bath.
mm, mm. What fascinates me about what you said at the beginning, though, was that is that you're, you know, you had this mind. You had this mind that was able to somehow block out and not listen to what it didn't want to hear, and because you took in what your friends said, but
Yeah,
you blocked out what your dad said. You know that
yeah, that's it.
yeah.
But because, well, because you see, the thing is that the half of the thing is, and I didn't know at the time, but you've got to trust the process, you see. And I see, looking back on it, it was a wonderful thing because I allowed things to happen. If I'd have said when he told me that, oh, that's great, well done, Lawrence, but I'd never be able to do that. I'd have never seen that car.
Mm,
It would have been there and I'd have walked past it, but I wouldn't have seen it. Does that make sense?
yeah, yeah,
It's like all opportunities, like, you know, if we're driving along and you want to start a business and you say, I need an empty shop, which there'd be plenty of at the moment, wouldn't there?
yeah,
But if you need an empty shop, you'll drive through, you won't stop seeing the shops
yeah.
and say, oh, well, there's one, no, that'll do,
That's
that'll do.
true.
I drive through, how many do I see? Here's a trick question. How many shops do I see?
If you're not thinking about that you
Yeah,
can
if
do
I
it,
don't need
you
one.
don't see any. You won't
I
see them.
do. I see every one of them, but they don't register as an
Right.
opportunity because
Okay.
that's the difference. We see
Right.
them, people say, oh no, you still see it,
Yeah, but it
but
doesn't.
because it's an opportunity, it registers,
Yeah.
right? See, our mind's built that it doesn't register stuff that's not relevant.
Yeah.
So we go along and see things, or right. But if it's relevant, if you're looking for something, you'll find it,
Yeah.
right? But the funny thing is, like saying that, when you lose something or misplace something, and you get all wound up looking for it, you know, then you sit down and you relax and you go, oh, I suppose that's gone. And as soon as you sort of defuse it, you get a picture in your mind of the last place you saw it, and 9 times out of 10 you'll go and find it.
Mm,
Once again, what have you done? What
mm.
have you done?
Just relaxed.
Relaxed.
Yeah, you've
So
relaxed.
powerful.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's so powerful.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. A fascinating story. And of course, you got you know, you had all of this success, but it wasn't until you lost everything that you knew why. You
Yeah,
know, it sounds like at
yeah.
that point that was almost like an invitation for you to now to find out why, how did
Well,
it happen?
here's another little secret, Denise. You see, when things are going well, you are what?
Relax.
Relaxed. So
Yeah.
the next thing just happens.
Yeah.
So I didn't understand because I've been up and down, but
Yeah.
when I was down, I had something that was up that was, so it was like this because I was entrepreneurial. But when I lost everything, I had no up to hold me up.
Yeah.
So I was down, stressed, anxious, right? Then that's where it wouldn't work. And that's when I found out how powerful relaxing is. Because people think, they say, lazy bastard, he just sits about all day. But I get hold of a few quid by just thinking of things and saying, right, well, that'd be a good idea. I think I might do this or I might do that. But people don't understand the power of calm and just doing it. When you go on holiday, when you're on holiday, lying on the beach, how many good ideas go through your head?
Loads. Loads.
Loads,
Yeah.
loads. But by the
Yeah.
time you get home, none of them will work because you've convinced yourself it was all rubbish.
Yeah. Yeah.
Take a notepad next time and write every one of them down because
Yeah.
they'll all work.
It happens for me first thing in the morning when I wake up. I get loads
Yeah.
ideas and yeah, I think the challenge then is to apply them, you know?
Yeah, but precisely. So
Yeah.
but you see, there's so much to this. Is that like the essence of it is very simple, but the actual applying it What I teach people to apply the teachings, because the teachings, if you put every book ever written about the teachings, they'd cover the world 10 books deep, because there's millions of them, all saying the same thing in a different way. So it's very confusing, right? The whole thing's very confusing. So it's a case, number one, follow one teaching. There's no shortage of information, especially not today. We've got our phones and that. We're as clever as the cleverest man on the world, on the earth, because we only got asked the right questions and we get the answer, aren't we? So knowledge ain't worth anything now, is it? Knowledge ain't power. It used to be power, but now it's not, because everyone's got the same knowledge at their fingertips.
Yeah.
So knowledge isn't power anymore. So what's power now?
Application.
Applying the knowledge.
Applying
That's
it.
that is the new power. Applying the knowledge, because everyone has got every bit of knowledge, every answer. But the trouble is, you see, what they do, because of the subconscious overriding the conscious, they keep thinking that they're doing everything right. So what do? Put one book down, pick another one up. Put that one down, pick another one up. So you've got thousands and thousands and thousands of books saying the same thing in a different way. No wonder you get bloody confused and can't make it work, right? So you've got to just take one. It don't matter which one it is. If you trust the bloke who's wrote it, read that book in the exclusion of all other books. And then when you start getting results, all the other books will make sense.
Sure.
I read a book now and I go through it and I go, oh yeah. Oh, that's what he's wrapped that up funny. All he's saying is that, but he's done it like this to make it. And Bob Proctor said to me once, he had a go at me. He said, Croz, are you mad? I said, what's that? He said, why are you making it so simple? How do you sell simple? So a lot of it is just to make people feel that they're clever and they know more than you. Right? I don't know any more than anybody else, but I've had a lot of experience and I know how to apply these teachings.
Yeah.
That's my power.
Yeah.
And imparting that knowledge to others is what I do on a daily basis.
Okay. So so you do coaching, because I know your circular, is it circular worry thought free?
Circular thought. That's one of my statements. And Worry Free Island, they're just bits of posters over the years. What I've just stuck back up there. I mean, because I ain't one of, I like all the slickness and the PowerPoints and all that. I'm too old. I have an old whiteboard and scribble on it and just do it. But I just all I want to do is get people the message to let people know how powerful they are, because we are in control. But we give the power away.
You're all about helping people to take that power back.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And the thing is that the greatest thing is it just gets bigger. It's like a snowball, because once you start getting results, guess what? You get more results.
Yeah.
And then more results.
It builds,
The trouble is getting started, because as I say, all the time I was successful and I had one thing going on here, that was no good. It don't matter because this is going well. I was always buoyant and at the right, vibrating at the right thing to attract the next deal.
Right.
But when I had nothing and I was vibrating at stress and anxiety, I couldn't achieve anything.
Yeah. That's the thing, Croz, though. Many people are stuck in that space. In our mindset, and whenever we discuss this whole thing about success and mindset, I always think about the people who are in that phase where they're just trying to get the revs right.
Yeah.
And they're
precisely,
they haven't quite broke through yet, and so they're still dealing with kind of negative feedback and trying to break out of that. And you know what happens? The negative feedback comes and it's like it tries to convince you that it's not going to work. And then you try, and then it, and they can get stuck in that loop, in that vortex. And I really feel it for people that are in that space, because it can be quite a challenge to break out of that.
Yeah, definitely.
So that's a big thing, really. So that's what you do really, is helping people to get started to
Well, yeah,
break out of that
but
space.
not even get started, because you see, there's people that have made it that are confused because they don't understand why they ain't happy. I've got a guy in Australia who could possibly have 500 million, 500 million, and he's the most miserable bloke I'd ever met. Well, he's better now. We're teaching him how to spend a few quid and all that, you know, because he's gone all the way through. He had a big boat, and when he had all his companies, it was always full of people laughing and joking and drinking because they had to be there. But he was a horrible bloke. So when he like stopped and retired, no one on the boat, because I felt I've got a choice now. Sod him. I don't, yeah, don't matter how much free drink he gives me, I don't want to be in his company. So he had to relearn how to start enjoying himself. And all he does, he keeps putting his head in his hand, going, "Oh, shut up, Croz." He said, "If only I'd have done this. If only I'd have done that." Right? But on paper, like 500 million quid, and he's got houses and boats and this, that, and the other, helicopters and God knows what.
Oh, goodness.
And right, but miserable as sin because he ain't got anyone that really likes him, and his family buggered off because he's ignored them while they were growing up, because he kept saying, "When I get up there, I'll look after them." But no, because when he got there, they weren't there no more.
Yeah.
Right? So it's a case of putting things into perspective and relaxing. And he said, "I've lived my whole life at vibrating at such a stressful level." And he said, he said to me once, he said, "I've never experienced happiness because I kept thinking it was going to come when I got all the money. And now I've got all the money and I'm still miserable."
Still
he said,
miserable. Yeah.
I mean, as I say, he's a lot better now, but the point is now he's suffering himself, his self-flagellation of all the things of saying what he didn't do.
He didn't do, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's and that's the lessons that we've got to learn. That's the power. It ain't a race. You ain't got to rush. It'll all happen. It will all happen in its own time, but you've got to allow it to happen. The minute you start trying to direct operations, you lose. You lose because you lose the guidance that you're given, as you know, if you just allow your mind to work correctly.
Yeah, it's a powerful message.
Yeah, I think so.
Powerful message. And so one that that we all need to really press into. So thanks so much for that, Croz.
You're more than welcome.
Coming and sharing that with me. I'll see how I can rope this in to, because your story is it's not quite one where you were you always, to me, seem to have quite a good sense of who you are. You know, like you believe that you were able to accomplish at 12 years old. That was incredible what you did. And you didn't learn it from your environment, from your parents.
No,
you didn't learn it. So there was obviously something in you, in your makeup, that still went for it. You didn't allow the programming to put you off. You allowed that information in. So there's something in that, but what I can get from your story is how it works. How important it is to make sure that you are unlearning, getting rid of all the rubbish, so that the new information can stick and there isn't that conflict that and I guess that's why you get that one step forward, two steps back, one step, because there's that fighting that's going on inside.
That's it, precisely. Well put. That's exactly it. Because you see, the negative thoughts, you've got to actually get rid of them because they're more powerful than the positive thoughts. They're much heavier. They got more aggression, right? And they carry a lot more weight in your mind than the positive thoughts, because that's what you see. The negativity is the And most of the negativity is stopping you doing things. No negativity moves you forward. Think about it.
Yeah.
Does it? Nothing negative moves you forward.
Yeah.
And yet we let it guide our life.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
With a program that's been put there by people that, with all due respect, they ain't got a bloody clue what they're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, they've
They're
been
doing more
programmed
damage. Like the
themselves. Yeah.
teacher, you'll amount to nothing. Everyone's had teachers say that, haven't they? Right?
Yeah.
What a nice thing to say. What a
Yeah.
nice thing to say, you know. And then, and if you're daydreaming in class, you used to get a clip round the ear hole. Yeah, daydreaming is one of the greatest things you can do. One of the greatest things in these teachings is to imagine the future or imagine things happening. It's great letting the mind wander, but we can so controlled now in what we do that the mind's not working properly. There's very, very little of our existing mind over evolution now that we, we're fighting it. And it's, there should be a movement to get rid of all the rubbish and not program people incorrectly. So that when they get to a certain point, and it's, all the kids are talked about, oh, you could be anything you want. No, you can't. Not if you don't put the work and effort in, you can't be anything. But it's all saying not making hard work of it, because it ain't no use trying to be an Olympic swimmer if you can't swim, right? So you can sit there and have all the positive thoughts in the world about winning the gold medal at swimming if you can't swim. So, you've got to be logical about it. And then if you can swim, you've got to be prepared to put in the work involved to get what you want. And that's the thing. This will assist you once you apply it, but it won't work if you don't apply it.
Yeah. I'm sure it was you in the room that said, that it's because there's there's this system that's set up to make workers, to create workers. And
that's the education system to comply. That come about in the Industrial Revolution, because they couldn't get them little kids that were scampering about all over the place to stand at a machine all day pulling a bloody handle. So they had to put them. I said, I know what to do. Let's put them through a training thing, right? And then we'll educate them. So when they come out the other end, they're malleable. We'll convince them that it's a good idea to stand in a factory, or we'll convince them it's a good idea to do this or that and the other. On the way through, we might tell them who was the King of England in 1066 and all that sort of thing, just as a little bit of stardust on it. But the basic thing is, let's get them till they come out the other end and we got control over them.
Yeah.
And when you get people that they can't control, they don't know what to do with them.
Yeah. Well, that's good. Yeah, it makes absolute sense. Of course, we've been well, I have anyway, been a product of that. So good stuff, really good stuff, Croz.
Right.
So let me to not take up any more of your time with that. And it's been really brilliant talking to you. Love the work that you're doing. I think it's really important.
Lovely.
And so do send me the link if you log into your Zoom.
Yeah, we'll do.
You can just send me the link and I can see it to rope that in. We're going to be doing a few other interviews just to kind of really build this picture for this book. But it's going to be called No, Mr. Gable, I Will Not Sit Down.
Right, lovely.
The lines of that, because that was the name of the teacher.
One of your teachers,
yeah. So it's kind of defiant sort of thing, you know. I just really wanted to motivate people to step out of limitations, you know, especially those that they've been self-imposed upon themselves, because it's about what we choose to believe.
Precisely.
We may not realize that that's what we're doing. So that's what the book is about.
All right.
Okay.
Brilliant.
All right then.
All right, matey.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thank you too. Yeah, you take care, and I'll see you on the circuits, on
we'll do.
Clubhouse and etc. All right.
Catch
Do you have rooms? Do you have a club and clubhouse? Do you have? You don't do rooms. You sort of like just pop in where you can.
I might do. I like other people to just invite me in.
Yeah. Okay.
Seems like a lot of effort running them.
Yeah, it is.
All right.
All right then. All right. You take care then. Yeah.
Catch you later.
Bye-bye.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.